Howdy, y'all! So let's do a Bob Ross painting. I'm going to follow the Grandeur of Summer tutorial. It's one of the more popular ones and in-depth. We got a canvas here and paints and our magic white, and we're ready to paint away. Life is one grand sweet song, so start the music. So I gotta add some magic white here on the canvas. Just plopping it on. Gonna do this time lapse pretty fast, so then it doesn't take way too long to show it, but just rubbing a magic white into the canvas. Gotta keep rubbing away. This is the part that wears your arm out pretty bad. Sometimes you get a little hair in there and you gotta get it out. That's annoying. Especially natural bristle brushes. Somebody should make a tongue twister out of that. Then you just start dropping in the sky here with some blue. Really good. Sky is the easiest part of the whole painting. Same blue color to add some water into it. It's a nice water reflection right there. Got some sunlight coming in through the middle of it there. Just kind of blend it together. Leave this gap in the of white here for some mountains and trees and stuff like that. Then start adding some clouds in. This is the harder part because your paint has to be thin enough to leave the brushes and stick to the canvas, but then it also has to be thick enough to be able to cover up the blue. It's a little something you gotta learn when you're doing wet on wet. As the great master would say, I don't know what he would say, but he would say it. And just add some clouds in, fluff them up a little bit. And these clouds turned out alright, I guess. Touch of white through the sky and just fluff it out a little bit and blend the bottom of them. That's the important part, to make them fade into the sky. Then the bravery test comes. Oh. Well, the mountain's there permanently. There's no going back. It's where it's going to stay. Gotta kind of grab the brush and knife, bring it out a little bit more, and just kind of give a nice dark base layer onto it to show the shadows and the different crevices and all that in the rocks. Pretty basic stuff, you know. Add some highlights onto it. This is the harder part because you got to get the paint to break. It's got to be thick enough but thin enough. It's got to be just right. Just enough to make it break. And then you can add the other colors of the ice, the kind of the blue will be like a little bit of blue and white onto the back side of the canvas, on the back side of the mountains on the canvas. Yeah. I had to go over it a couple times. It's a little harder than it looks. But once you get it in there, then you can kind of just blend it out, and it sets it back way off in the distance. Like Bob always says, way in the distance. Mind if I call him Bob? Good deal. Just as long as he doesn't have a brother named Larry. But anyways, kind of add another little mountain onto the front of it here. Everybody likes a little bit of trees in there, so we'll put some trees in the distance. It's using just like kind of like a light gray, they're way back in there. You gotta just blend it in. Tons of mist, like that's all it is. Just layer after layer after layer, and a lot of mist, a lot of clouds and fog and all sorts of good stuff like that. As it gets closer to it, we just get darker and darker and darker and darker and darker and darker. No, anyways, just kind of to a certain point. Actually, never use pure black, like RGB black. Like, you don't want to go completely black. It doesn't exist, I guess, as they say. But we just add some more trees in. We kind of pull the bottoms of them down a little bit to add that water reflection. That's the cool part. We just kind of pull it down. It's hard. You got to get it level at the back, but it's got to come up towards the front, and so the front ones have to be longer. Like the trees in the back have to be pretty short, so We kind of had to make the trees a little taller just to, in the front here, just to make the distance right for the water way back there at the back of the lake. It's like the water comes right up to the edge of the trees in the back, right in the very middle. We just kind of cut in just a little bit of white just to give us that water right where the water meets the shore. Just kind of cut it in there. You can use the magic white or some thinned down white. Best not to do just straight magic white because that can yellow a little bit. And you don't want to do that. Now let's start dropping in a tree here. And it's another bravery test. You just put it and boom, there it is. Oh, this tree's got to have a friend. Like I always say, everybody's got to have a friend. That's what Bob says, but that's what he says. You can do it. You just gotta have patience and practice, and you can do it. Put in another tree. Now, this one you gotta have. It's gotta block out those edges. That's when you kind of leave that open on the sides of the mountain and whatnot. But you just drop another tree in. Some people call them Z trees. They're just a northern pine or big evergreen tree. You add a little bit of highlights onto it, and just start putting in black at random pretty much just to give a base layer for the rest of the paint. It's the fun part because you just splatter away with all your black and black and black and black and anyways and more black and oh no, I'm not doing black no more. Oh well. But add some little trunks in here. It really makes the tree stick out better and more realistic looking. And it's so simple. You just put some paint on a knife and cut it in. It's pretty simple actually. But anyways, you put some sticks and twigs and all that kind of stuff in there and add some highlights onto the trees and a little bit of lighter green, get you some sap green and a little bit of darker colors. No, not doing that again. And you just kind of keep going with it. In dark, no. We're going lighter and lighter and brighter and brighter. And you add some leaves on here. You gotta have the paint that's just thinned out perfectly because you can't have it too thick or you pick up the paint that's on the canvas and you can't have it too thin. Otherwise it doesn't cover and it doesn't show up on it. So you gotta have it just right. You can use the paint thinner, odorless mineral spirits. Yes, you can use some paint thinner just to, if you want to thin it out, or if you have a little darker color, you just add some magic white to it and it'll lighten it up while it thins it out. So it depends on what kind of color you're putting down, which one you can use. It's nice just magic white. As you want to go layer over layer, you just add more magic white to it and it gets colored and gives you your highlight on the leaves. And it's just all right there in that brush. It just lives in that little brush. It's like, wow, there's a lot of leaves in that little brush. And it doesn't even have a million hairs on it either. No. And wait. No. Million hairs? What a painting. No, what a painting that would be. But just add some more highlights on the trees. You can put like a dark green over it and then come over the top of it with a lighter green to give you that nice edge. You don't cover up all your darks, just enough. And then you gotta think of where the sun's coming into your painting from, like where in your scene are you looking at it, like where the sun's coming in. It's giving a reflection on the water. Where's the, all these things you gotta think about these things. Then you can add some little rocks, like a little land edge right by the water, and add a big rock in here. These rocks are harder to do than the mountain. The mountain's way in the distance, but these rocks, they're right up close. You gotta get those details just right. But you can put some rocks in there and add some more little twigs and more little bushes and bushy things and plants and flowers and nature and all that stuff. Yeah. Kind of blend it down and give a little water reflection there too. Just to make everything that's over the water reflect. which the mountain's not really reflecting too much, but it shouldn't. That's okay. You can put a little water line in. Up close is where it's really important because you can really see that the way the light shines, the sun just bounces off of the water as it ripples right up against the shore, especially like really smooth water right by the shore. It's really going to start to ripple, and you're going to need some reflections, some highlights in the water right there. Just kind of blur reflections a little bit. You don't want them, as soon as you see it, but there's still a little bit of wind blowing. You gotta mimic that wind and add some turbulence to your reflections. It's a pretty simple painting. You just put some different colors in, darks, and sign away. Just add a little signature on there, and gotta add a little bit of reflection from the signature. Everything else is reflecting on the water, so why not the signature? A little bit of pun in signature. But that's how it goes. I need a razor.
A picture is a poem without words. So, what do you think? Every expert was once a beginner. Maybe I'm not near Ross's level, but it's amazing what you can accomplish if you don't care who gets the credit. So, don't be afraid to see what you see. It's just a bunch of pigments on a canvas, as each color needs its own little friend to complement it and give it a place. YouTube channels need subscribers. Iron sharpeneth iron, so a man sharpeneth the countenance of his friend. It's such a small thing to do that helps in a big way. Leave a nice word. According to our president, criticism is easier to take when you realize that the only people who aren't criticized are those who don't take risks. So here I am. This is risky to do. You could get paint everywhere. And just hopefully some of it actually ends up on the right place on the canvas. So what do you think? Subscribe? Tell me how this makes you feel. If your actions inspire others to dream more, learn more, do more, and become more, you are a leader. Does this inspire you? Maybe you could see you could be better, or maybe you're one of the greatest out there and you're like, woo, yeah, already better, So, do you see a happy tree that maybe reminds you of a happy moment in your life? Does the calm water remind you of a vacation or a hike you took one time? Like it or dislike it? Don't be stuck there in the middle. Comment, share this. Really, having something like this video to share opens the door. It's a great conversation starter for friends to help you develop relationships. Art is all around us. So whether you like it or not, sometimes we just need to take a pause. Till the next video. While I take inspiration from the past, I live for the future.